Genghis Khan rose to power through ruthless determination and brutal tactics. In the late 12th and early 13th century, Mongolia had no central government and was inhabited by several tribes of nomads, raiding and plundering each other's territory. One of these tribes was called the Kamag Mongols. In 1162, a boy is born into the Kamag Mongols, who will one day found the largest contiguous empire in history. His name is Genghis Khan. Genghis, or Temujin as he was known for now, first gained power after his love Borte had been captured by one of the opposing tribes, the Merkids. Temujin reached out to his father's sworn brother, Togrul, who was Khan of a fellow tribe, for help. Temujin managed to obtain 20,000 Karaite soldiers from this tribe, which he would use to invade the Merkids. Alongside Togrul, he also asked his childhood friend Jamaka to help him, as he had become Khan of his own tribe. The invasion was an overwhelming success, and Borte could return to her husband. However, victory was bittersweet, as it caused a split between Jamaka and Temujin. They each began building their armies and gaining influence. Jamaka supported the aristocracy, whereas Temujin thought that positions of authority should be awarded on the basis of skill, not blood. It was during this time that a prophecy was told by the shaman Cockatoo, proclaiming that the eternal blue sky had promised the world to Temujin. This gained him enormous influence and increased his ranks, which angered Jamaka. In response, Jamaka launched an army of 30,000 men to fight Temujin and won. Temujin may have lost the battle, but Jamaka was the real loser. He had ruined his reputation by boiling 70 men alive in cauldrons and scaring away potential supporters. After fleeing from the bitter loss, Temujin managed to survive, but the next 10 years of his life are a complete mystery. He finally reappears in the annals of history as an officer taking part in an assault on the Tatars. Allied with the Chinese Jin dynasty and the Karaites, they won a decisive victory. Thanks to this victory, Temujin was once again in a position of power. 1200 AD. It was 3 years later, and the Mongols' main rivals were the Naimans in the west, Merkids to the north, Tanguts in the south, and the Jin lurking in the east. It was during this time that the radical new ideas of the Mongols would give them an advantage over their enemies. An equal playing field is what the Mongols promised. Anyone could rise up and gain wealth and power if they had the talent. One example of this is Jem, who was an enemy archer who shot the Mongol leader with an arrow, almost killing him, and instead of taking revenge, Temujin hired him. Temujin promised both civilian and soldiers wealth from the wars they would fight. He also made sure to integrate the people of tribes he defeated into his own, which made him more powerful after every victory. Over the next 6 years, he began conquering all the nomadic tribes in the Mongolian steppe, using a number of savage methods. After defeating the Tatars, he ordered that anyone taller than a cart axle be slain, which essentially meant anyone older than a baby. This meant no Tatar would remember they were ever rivals. Temujin made sure to destroy the identities of the people he captured and give them a new identity that would unite them under him. The other tribes attempted to create coalitions with each other in order to try and stand against the Mongols. But it was never enough. His old friend and rival Jamaka was involved in many of the attempts to halt Temujin's growing power. He was now ruling 1 million people and controlled territory the size of modern-day Mongolia. He was renamed Genghis Khan, which means Universal Ruler. Now Genghis was one of the most powerful men in the world, and had united the nomad tribes under him in unwavering loyalty. He turned his attention to the rest of the world now, and began to expand his empire. It's impossible to explain how the Mongols managed to conquer the world so easily, without talking about how shockingly efficient and well-trained Mongol soldiers really were. The army was mainly made of horse archers, who could shoot with better timing and accuracy than any other force. They were taught to ride and shoot from a very young age. A Mongol would ride his galloping horse and wait for all of the horse's hooves to be in the air before he shot. Although difficult to pull off, shooting in this style gave them incredible accuracy. The meritocratic system Genghis had introduced made it so that the most talented and intelligent men were in charge of his forces, whereas most of the world still placed noblemen in charge. It was after this point that Genghis started his many military campaigns, which would transform the world. The first campaign he started was the invasion of Western Jar, which bordered his territory. He gambled on the Jin, who were close by, not interfering. The Jin did nothing to help the Jar, despite their pleas for help. He started off launching a few raids, and then sent a large invasion force in 1209. The invasion ended in the first month of 1210, when the Western Jar dynasty surrendered to him. In 1211, Genghis attacked the Jin. The Jin had a great opportunity to attack the Mongols, but decided instead to send them a message. The messenger defected to the Mongols and gave them enough information to massacre the Jin forces with ease. Hundreds of thousands of Jin troops died. In 1215, he had captured the Jin capital, which forced the Jin to abandon their entire northern empire in order to move their capital to Kaifeng. After this, an old enemy named Kuchlug arose and took the western LIAO. Genghis may have worried that if he became too powerful, he might become a threat. He wanted to destroy the LIAO dynasty, but his army was exhausted from fighting in China for so long. He decided he would send only 20,000 troops, but they would be led by one of his greatest generals, Jeb. Jeb was a brilliant general, but even he couldn't defeat Kuchlug with such a small army. Instead, he attacked indirectly and incited revolt within Kuchlug's forces. This weakened them significantly, and they were later defeated west of Kashgar. After conquering this new territory, they now bordered with the KWARAZMIAN Empire, a powerful Islamic empire. The KWARAZMIAN Empire caused Genghis Khan to become so enraged that he initiated an earth-shattering campaign, and one of the worst genocides in human history. Genghis wanted to trade with the KWARAZMIAN Empire on the Silk Road, and showed no intention of getting into a war with them. He sent a 500-man caravan to create a trading post with the empire. The caravan was attacked and looted by the governor there, Inalchuk. Genghis was annoyed by this, and sent 3 ambassadors to talk with the Shah. The Shah had all the men shaved and beheaded the only Muslim ambassador. His head was sent to Genghis Khan, which enraged him beyond belief. He gathered 100,000 men and his most capable generals and launched the invasion. Genghis ordered the Jin and Western Jar to help him with this war, but they turned their back on him. This is an insult Genghis would not forget to repay. The KWARAZMIAN Empire was divided and in no state to defend against such an invasion. Instead of having to deal with a large army, they only had to deal with the KWARAZMIAN army bit by bit. Once Genghis got his hands on Inalchuk, the man who had initially insulted him, he poured molten silver into his eyes and ears as a brutal form of execution. He ordered his army to destroy towns, villages, and large populations of people. While attacking the city of Bukhara, he made all of the people who had managed to survive get into a large mosque, where he then told them that he had been sent by God to punish them. After taking the city of Urgench alone, they killed 1.2 million people and enslaved many of the rest, including the children.